What do we know so far about this restriction of certain financial data in China? What does it tell us?
Well, ultimately, this is all around a firm called Wind, which provides sort of everything from credit, company, shareholder information on corporates in China to investors and think tanks. And essentially, the journal was first to sort of report that there was some restriction on access to Wind for think tanks and research firms. And, you know, as we've learned more, that Wind, people sort of familiar saying that Wind itself has actually clamped down on specifically its corporate registration data. Now, this is something that we've also seen other similar domestic Chinese platforms also clamp down on towards the end of the year. So it's not necessarily a dramatic big change, but it's certainly part of this broader trend that we've seen on China tightening its grip on what it sees as sensitive data. And that follows too, of course, last month we saw the expansion of this espionage law that essentially expands the scope for what may be deemed as surveillance or espionage activity.
What does it tell us, tied into what else has been happening on the ground in China in terms of what looks like a clampdown on foreign firms, at least greater scrutiny coming through from officials there?
Absolutely. I think that is the really critical question that investors are now trying to work out, whether this is an isolated incident or the extent to which it can be fitted into a sort of a broader regulatory shift here. We have, of course, seen that raid on Bain consultancy offices. That follows on other raids and other police investigations into other US consultancies too. So it does look like, as the American Chamber of Commerce president said, like everyone is just asking who's next. It's very unclear still whether this is going to be part of a broader shift. And we have, of course, seen in the broader context of Li Qiang coming out and saying China is open to business, it wants to create a room for foreign investment, encouraging and rolling out the red carpet for all of these business delegations from Europe that we've seen too. So this somewhat contradictory messaging that investors are now trying to reckon with in Asia.